start rolling and like?
Yeah, I'm actually rolling right now.
Nikki and Jen. Oh, you're rolling right now?
Yeah.
What are you bothered by?
The shadows of your heads.
All right.
I thought you meant like life shadows, like your shadow self.
I-
Because I'm bothered by
But
that
both.
too.
Actually,
I love it. I love that we're interviewing each other. This is really exciting.
I know, it's actually like what we do
It's like
every
what we
day.
do all the-
I'm just wearing mascara and there's a camera.
I want to say your lashes look amazing.
Thank you. I did lose them all.
I know.
So guys, fun fact, when you get pregnant, sometimes you lose all your lashes. It's the second time it's happened.
It's like hormonal things that happen.
You don't just like get taken over by an alien, you also lose your lashes.
Your hair comes out.
Your hair comes out, you lose your lashes.
Did your hair come out of the JJ?
No, of course, that all stayed. that all just stayed.
It's like a forest. It's growing and growing and growing.
Like a chia pet. I went in to get waxed one time and they pulled the one side and I was like, ah! And then I was like, you know what? That's okay. I think we're good here. And I left with one side done and the other side not. It's an artistic choice.
Yeah. Oh, have you watched Call the Midwife at all?
I can watch this
There
right
are
now.
so many babies coming out of the vaginas. It's beautiful, and there's a lot.
I don't know that it's beautiful. I mean, I know it's
I get you.
beautiful. You know, the whole,
Technically
the
beautiful.
act. I wonder all the time how my OB delivers so many babies and she sees so many babies coming out of vaginas. Let's just start asking
chat.
questions.
Yeah.
So, the month of September is about the body.
Yeah, girl. The body.
So, the
Yes.
body.
The body. Our bodies.
Our bodies.
Our female bodies.
You and I have had interesting journeys with our bodies.
Yes, ma'am.
And the one thing I wanted to ask you is, I want you to talk a little bit about your journey with, you've lost a lot of weight. You have, but I want you to talk about, you look amazing. You do, but you have lost a lot of weight. And I want you to talk a little bit about your journey with what you called your sad fat.
Oh, my sad fat. It was so sad.
This question comes, by the way, from a moment whenever I went over to your house and you had not gotten out of your bathrobe and it was like 2 p.m. or maybe even later, and you were sitting on the couch and you like opened your robe up and you grabbed your stomach fat and you looked at me and you were like, and you just grabbed it and you were jiggling it and you were like, do you love my sad fat?
I was like in so bad.
You were in such a bad place, but yeah.
Such a bad place. Literally, you talking about that makes my stomach drop right
Does
now because
it?
it makes me think of like how scared I've been for so many years and how unsafe I felt and it's so emotional. You know, my sad fat is very sad. You know, going through our fertility journey, it's been 7 years, many treatments, and you know, women didn't say a lot of people talk about this, but some of the women that I would hear talk about it would talk about gaining weight, and I would be like, oh, because I didn't know if it was because I was on all these hormones, and I had a bigger appetite, or if I was just, because if you're just bloated,
Yeah.
that's not like 20 pounds of weight.
Right.
Right? Like, people
Yeah.
are like, so, and it was this weird fluctuating thing where I had a really hard time with it. You know, I grew up respecting my body and taking care of it and just always having a pretty healthy sense of, I mean, I definitely had my moment in time as a kid where you just, you know, got super skinny, but I kind of always, maybe because my mom was super healthy and stuff, I understood how to be healthy, but it was still always a struggle. It always is. But this fertility journey in particular, it just got me to the place where like I just accepted it in a weird way. Like, and when you came over that day, that was definitely in the height of like a really sad day and like a lot of anger, a lot of sadness, and a lot of like, why do I have to gain this sad weight if I'm not getting a result? And I think that's what like when I was like, here's my sad fucking fat, you know, like this motherfucker. But I just felt like I would be so angry about it because I wasn't getting a result. So to me, I'd be like, I want to be, whatever. What's 5 pounds? What's 10 pounds? Heck, oh my gosh, I gained 15.
Well, it's that thing where it's like, I'm willing to go through the fire, I'm going to go through the valley, and then your human self says, because at the end of this, I'm going to get this beautiful thing. I'm going to have this outcome.
Absolutely.
And then when the outcome isn't coming, and for you, when the pregnancy wasn't happening, when you weren't getting pregnant, it's like, I'm going through this for what? Like, I'm putting my body through this for what? And that kicks up a lot of anger and a lot of resentment.
Well, and I think when you have a disappointment too, you want to hold on to and I gained all this weight, where it really is just the loss and the grief that you feel going through these different cycles and every month hoping.
Yeah.
But then you turn on yourself. So there was, a lot of anger towards myself. I remember just wanting to sort of how can I just do internal surgery and figure out how to fix myself, because I so badly wanted to fix it, and it was difficult because everybody's always like, there's no. Okay, so seeing a film that I did, or in this middle of this journey, I saw it and I was really I'm fat Jen right now. So oh well, I tried not to look at it, just okay, whatever, they hired me, they want me to look like this, whatever. But I remember seeing it and I thought, if that's fat Jen, she's pretty awesome. Why can't, why am I so hard on her? I say this a lot, but it's part of this journey so much of separating myself sometimes, because if I separate myself, I think of myself as my best friend, Nikki, my dear friend, Heidi, my dear soul sisters in my life that I love, and my mother, my mom, that I would never, ever, ever do anything but encourage them to love themselves and their body and who they are. So it was just a lot of consciously really rewiring my mind and doing the work, therapy and all sorts of stuff, of gratitude for my body.
Yeah.
And gratitude for where it has taken me. And that's how I started to reverse, a few more years of not getting pregnant, of I'm just going to celebrate though that this body is taking me this far. Mm-hmm. So far. It has gone through a little up and, and it's interesting you said, because I did lose weight and I lost it in this unexpected way because I had a crazy jaw
Not just
situation.
unexpected, but a painful, horrible kind of way.
I was at home having these crazy, I had no idea what was wrong with me. It ended up being a tooth infection and all this stuff, but I couldn't eat for 4 or 5 months, and I immediately dropped this weight. And it was so interesting because I thought, maybe I just can't now, and I'm getting older, and I can't drop it. But really, it's just about food, let's face it.
You can take the chips out of your mouth.
Basically going out of 300 calories a day, which I don't recommend. But it was so painful to eat. It was just this weird, I kept trying to think, what is this representing? Why is this happening? And it was really bad.
It took you, I mean, you took it through this journey, and it was, it was you and your body, you were going through it together.
That's so true. That's so
true. And there's something to be grateful for in that. There's definitely a lot of love to be had for your body.
Yeah.
In that journey,
Well, as soon as you start to feel why aren't you producing, which is, why can't you do this? I try really hard to, think of something that I'm grateful for. It doesn't always work. I mean, there are still days I'm mad, but I try really hard that where I've come with it in this 7-year journey is that I'm not willing to sacrifice myself in that way anymore. I'm not willing to be the punching bag of this experience.
That's great. Yeah.
So talk about you and I. And I was sharing with you that Tom and I, my husband and I, Tom Kelly, we're talking about at this crossroads, we're at this crossroads, and Tom was saying, will you feel bad that you're not able to have the child, in your body? Will that be a part of this, grieving process and stuff? And how does that feel, if, going down the adoption road or anything? But as I started to think about those doors closing, I thought about it, and I've been in this one lifetime, do I think that feels like a loss? Yes. Mm-hmm. But if you delivered a beautiful, healthy baby to my door tomorrow, I'd also be awesome, great, we have our baby, So it isn't everything, it's just part of it. It said, you just looked at me and you're like, can I say something? I don't mean to sound horrible, but not all pregnant women like their body or like being pregnant. I think you said like being pregnant.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I thought, like, I know you, so of course I was like, I know your experience with it and stuff, but it was really good to hear for me because I feel like we hear all the time, you know, this beautiful, abundant body that the women are supposed to procreate, and that's what we're here for. So there is a part of that, and it was like when you said that, you know, you made me laugh, and then I thought about it, and the instinct is too to be like, oh my gosh, like, you don't like your I'd love to have a pregnant body. And I know, and going into that for you, you know, I can go back to like before Hudson and being pregnant the first time and watching you go through this. And watching you, it was interesting. One other thing I will say, when you first were pregnant with Hudson, I remember you just being weirdly detached. But anyway, I'd love to hear about, I mean, that going into, because I know you don't like being pregnant, or it hasn't been a pleasant experience.
No.
And joyful and gorgeous and all those things that everyone says.
I don't like being pregnant, and it's so weird. Like people always talk about when men. I don't know if you experience this, ladies, with husbands or boyfriends or whatever. Whenever they say, "Oh, they're just men," you know, that's the way they're programmed. That's just how they are. And my response to that is, no. They don't get a pass because they're a man. Because there's a lot of things that I have gone through or that I go through where it doesn't feel natural to me. It, you know, and being pregnant is one of them, and my journey to motherhood was one of them because of my experience with my own mother. Because it was such a difficult journey, I didn't know how I was going to be as a mom. And learning how to carry a baby and trying to be comfortable with that and being a mother, that's not stuff that I just knew how to do. It's stuff I worked really hard at. I worked really hard at it. So when people are like, well, men, you know, that's just how they're programmed, I'm like, no. They don't get a pass. I worked really hard at this motherhood thing.
We're programmed too.
And because I was programmed to be a worker. To work. My mother worked her whole life. She worked 7 days a week. That's what I learned. I grew up with a mother who was a worker, you know, and she wasn't necessarily the nurturer. You know, I always say if I tell my sister, well, if, you know, my mom will like come over and organize your entire house, and she will organize your life, and she is the best boss you will ever have. But if you want her to come over and take care of your sick child, like, it's not gonna happen. No, but that's who I was raised by, you know, and that's also because of that. I am such a hard worker, and I'm good at my job, and I'm very determined, and there's so many good things that have come from it, but I had to learn how to be a mother. And the pregnancy thing is something that I thought, even especially the second time around, I thought this time around, because the first time I did not, I couldn't embrace the journey. I was so sick. My body doesn't like it. Me, Nikki, without being pregnant, I love my body. And whether it's, you know, an extra 10 pounds or not an extra 10 pounds, I'm athletic, I'm healthy. You know, I love my body. I don't obsess about it. I don't get sick that often. And my pregnant body is sick. It is sick from day one. And that is something that I couldn't find a way to embrace that. I mean, not just like a little sick, like vomiting sick, so tired. And then with this pregnancy, I thought, well, maybe I'm gonna be able to embrace this. Like this time around, I want to really work so hard to find a way to embrace the whole of it, all of it, like the gigantic boobs, you know. I mean, I'm like normally a B cup, and I'm sporting G's. I'm sporting G's. You can't even imagine to go from like a B to a G is, and it's not fun. There's nothing fun about it. It's like you don't want to be touched. It's awful. They're so big. I mean, you can touch them, but I don't want my husband to touch them. I mean, they're just like, it's awful. So there's that, there's constipation, there's like, there's the vomiting, there's the restless leg. I can't sleep at night because my legs move all night long. I have sciatica. Like my body just gets really sick when I get pregnant. And so this time around I thought, well, even with the sickness, I'm going to use it as this learning experience to really just embrace all of it. And then I found out my baby has a congenital heart defect, and that was a curveball I didn't expect, because I thought I was just going to be trying to embrace the nausea, and instead it was trying to embrace the fact that my body, and I know this isn't true, you know, doctors tell you, like, it's not your fault, there's nothing you could have done or couldn't have done. And for all you mommies out there who have kids who have congenital heart defects, or, you know, your kid is born with something that has to be addressed health-wise, it's so hard because they tell you you didn't do anything wrong and there's nothing you could have done or couldn't have done, but you can't help but feel that your body betrayed you, that it did something wrong, and now your kid has to pay the price for it. And so it, you know, I don't know how to move past that. So I hate my pregnant body. It's so hard to say because you're not supposed to say it in today's society. You're supposed to like love it. And you know, I have friends who like do lingerie shoots when they're pregnant, and they look beautiful, and I love that. And I wish I was the kind of girl who could have that experience while pregnant. It just hasn't been my experience at all. And I know for all of you women who feel that way, you know, your feelings are safe with us.
Yes. That's the whole point of all this. I feel like, I mean, how could you kind of, Nick, I mean, watching you go through postpartum and kind of not knowing what it was, and just getting past all of that, which wasn't a pleasant experience, and then connecting so much with little Hudson and like figuring all that out. It just so much work that you went through emotionally and spiritually and with your body. Like, I get it. You know, it's like that thing that we talk about all the time. Like what we're supposed to do is not often what we actually feel.
Absolutely.
And the thing with us, we've always said how we actually feel, and it's been brutal sometimes. I'm like, I don't know why you'd want to be around me sometimes.
Well, I think that's the whole point of us even wanting to create a site like this. It's, you know, I think there's this beautiful wave that's happening in society. There's this beautiful thing happening that says, like, you know, being that puts gratitude above grumbling and complaining, that teaches us like to embrace and to love and all of that. That's the trend now, especially for women our age. That's the trend, and it's awesome and it's amazing. The only problem was that we skipped the steps. We skipped the messiness, and which is the pain or the resentment or the anger or the sadness that we're really feeling.
Right. It's like
that's
pressure,
standing in the way of us getting to the unconditional love for ourselves and for our bodies.
Right.
And so
it doesn't just happen by mantras, and I mean, it's great. And again,
you can't think your
mantras
way
are
into
part
it.
of it. Yeah, exactly. You know how I feel about this. Thinking your way into it is absolute bullshit because it's so much pressure. You know, I remember my 20s reversing my thought process, and I was like, why isn't anything changing?
Yeah.
Because I really was struggling. I was struggling with like who I was and what I was meant to do, and I was listening to other people. And I think you're absolutely right. It's that thing of like you have to go through this, you know, like the only way out is through. And weirdly enough, I think we similarly just weirdly always have like
I love that.
each
The only
other.
way out. It's true. The only way out is through.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so for a feeling of hating your pregnant body, it doesn't mean that I hate who I am. It doesn't mean that
That's right. Yeah.
I hate that I'm pregnant.
Or that you're not grateful.
No, it doesn't take
You're not one of the most
away.
grateful people I know.
I'm so grateful,
Yes.
and even with his condition, I I'm still so grateful that, you know, that he chose me to go on this journey, like that my baby chose me to go on this journey with him. All of that still exists, except for the fact that, you know, it is hard and it is difficult. And if I can't acknowledge what is true and what is real, which is some days are really painful and really awful, then I'm never going to get to the other side of it, which is the love and which is the gratitude and all of that.
Well, it's interesting because I will say this, like I feel like you're in mid journey with this, with little Brave Bennett, you know?
Brave Bennett.
Brave Bennett. And I think because I'm coming to like an end of a journey with my body in the medical world, there is a thing that I'm coming to the other side of.
Yeah.
It's not always like, it's not perfectly wrapped up at all. There are lots I'll be dealing with, but I'm almost like, just like leave me alone, let my body be. And you're like in the you're in the storm.
I was at the doctor's
eye of the storm.
Yeah, I was at the doctor's office for 3 hours last night, and I was at the doctor's office for 3 hours this morning. You're in the eye of the storm, which is, you know, having things hooked up to, you know, doing fetal echoes and stress tests and all of this stuff for your body is not yours.
Well, I'll just end it with this, call the midwife. I will say that they had something on
This show!
I'm telling you, I'm just a plug for the call the midwife. Because I wasn't ready to watch it for a long time. I was like, I do not need to watch this. But they said it in the show, and I love how they deal with these issues that women have been dealing with for so long, and women in the 50s and 40s, when people are like, you know, there's all these trends that are happening now that like people have been doing for years and years and years and struggling with sometimes. Some things are better, some things are the same. But it was this episode about this woman who gave birth to a child with, I think it was polio, and she said exactly what you said, which was, but it came from my body.
It came
so
from
something must be wrong. I
With
did
me,
that.
right.
Yeah. So she couldn't look at him. And I feel like, and then she kept him, thank God. But it was like this whole, but I thought, you know, that is exactly what I also feel with, you know, my husband. It's like there's no problem, and like like of course there's always a problem, but doctors are like, you should be getting pregnant, you should be doing this, and at the end of the day, it's my body that there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of self-blame.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of like, it must be somehow my fault. And I don't think I really even would pick, I would just kind of stuff that at the lowest layer. Like it's not even, I'm not going to go there. But I think having where I'm at in the process of letting it all just kind of come up and like throw up before I go on.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's come up.
You have to go there in order to move through it.
Yeah.
You really do. You have to sit and feel that feeling of the blame and the resentment and the anger towards your own body.
Yeah.
And hey, I took care of you for all these years, and
what the hell did I deserve this for? Yeah.
Where's the return on my investment? But you have to feel that in order to get to the other side of it. There's no other way.
And it does create like an intense empathy and compassion for others going through difficult situations, whatever it is, you know?
Absolutely.
But I think it's the same thing, like you said, there's so much pressure to have that, like, again, that's part of the reason I know you and I really want to do this, is because we just want to share more of what we talk about all the time. And when I do that, all the time, literally.
All the time.
And our vaginas.